how do leaders really impact our lives? Because when you have a champion leader, you go home jazzed and energized. My career's on fire in a good way. And I am trailblazing forward. And when you have the really not great bosses, you bring it home too. It impacts your kids, your family, like your mental capacity. I think that it's a really gift to look at the world and say, hey, how can I make it better to where someone else doesn't have to sit in that? And so that's why you'll see me doing trainings and speaking and motivational about how your calling is going to crush you, because it's going to be hard, because that's the only way it can be authentic, humble, and powerful.
There are opportunities for our work and careers everywhere, if you know where to look. That's easier said than done, especially in our fast-paced and constantly changing world. Ann Faremouth is talking to experts, employers, and job seekers to bring you insight and understanding about what's possible. This is Career Can Do, where we're navigating the new work world.
Welcome to the Career Can Do podcast, a top global podcast dedicated to helping you navigate the new work world. My name is Ann Faremouth, and I'll be your host for this episode. And today I'm just delighted to have a guest on my show that I have the most admiration and respect for. Megan Billnoske is the CEO and founder of a company called Inspire. But also, currently, she is the president of the NSA, which is an acronym for National Speakers Association. And I will say, I'm proud to say I've been a member of this organization for many, many years, and I see the benefits of it. As an executive recruiter, I know for sure, post-COVID for sure, the benefits of being able to speak correctly, to speak in a way that gets your message out there in a way that's beneficial to all parties, you included. So after that incredibly long introduction, without further ado, help me welcome Megan. Megan, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Ann. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really looking forward to our chat.
Well, me too. Well, I really appreciate you taking your time away from your job to come on the show. And I have to say, she's quite the accomplished person. She's spent 12 years in corporate America. She's traveled the world. She's worked in many, many industries. And now she's worked a couple of years as a consultant, owning her own business. So Megan, you've got a real diverse background. Tell us what you think are some of the key takeaways you've seen about the way of work.
Oh gosh, wow. Well, especially having traveled the world, I can say that no matter where I've been, people want to do a great job at work. They normally are going to support their families. And I think that really is a key part that leaders need to remember as we're managing teams, leading strategic initiatives, and changing with the way the world is now. And so I think it's really important to remember the human aspect, no matter what culture that you're in, or how big your team is, or how many experienced people are on there. But remembering that the human aspect, I believe in, is a really good trait for good business. And I think you can be profitable and treat people with the utmost respect to really grow a company. So from all of my experience, I've seen, obviously there's challenges everywhere, but I've seen resilient leaders, creative innovation. And so as we're thinking about the way of work, you need the support and the collaboration with your teams and the talent to be able to get there.
Well, I agree 100%. And Megan, what do you see organizations struggling with the most these days as we figure out what leaders look like now? I mean, so much post-COVID has changed. So where do you see the biggest struggles, and what do you think leaders can do to fix those?
I think some big struggles, especially since COVID, has been the way you manage hybrid teams. I think that international companies have always seen managed virtually. So it was really just through phone calls before COVID. But thanks to virtual parts like Zoom and Teams, now we can have actual conversations with people. But I think that's a big piece I'm seeing across the industry is how do leaders be themselves, be authentic, lead with vulnerability, but then also have command of a team, support them in development, and then juggle all of the new initiatives and all the new corporate things that are shifting that are happening. Because we've got 5 generations in the workplace. We have a lot of dynamics that are shifting away from just remote work back into the office. You have disgruntled people that are not wanting to go back in the office. They like working from home. And other people really seek it out and say, I want to be around people. So I think there's a lot of challenges right now of how do you engage your team because a lot of them are not in person anymore. You cannot see them sitting in their chair to say, oh yeah, they're working, when actually they might be on Facebooks. Even there, they're in the office. So I think it's this really good revolutionary part about how do we shift away from the way we used to lead, seeing people sitting at work versus how do you keep them engaged virtually? How do you keep high productivity and cater to the different things that they're all needing around the world or even domestic?
I think you're right. And, the one thing I've always liked about NSA is that you have so many diverse types of members in this organization. I know that pre-COVID, I used to go to all the NSA conferences all over the country. And I have to say, the networking that I got from that and the people that I met really have helped me become a better professional. And, we talked about remote work. How is NSA handling that? I mean, are they doing more now online, on Teams, on Zoom? I mean, how is NSA? How are they working with their members that maybe want to do more remote? How is that working?
I am so glad you asked because this year we have rolled out webinars for the first time. So in the evenings, we're doing webinars for how to build your business, a blueprint for marketing. So those are new this year. And all of our general meetings that we have once a month, they're really like workshops because they're about 3 hours long because we bring in big speakers to be able to share their sales processes or how to build their business. Take your pick, something that they're doing already in their own business and helping others be successful. Those meetings for the first time as of August have now become hybrid. So we actually have a space at the University of Houston Small Business Development Center. It's down here in the Galleria in Houston, and the room is wired for Zoom meetings. So everything is broadcast now. So if people are around the world that want to listen to, I don't know, last month we had Russ Riddle talking all about intellectual property. Well, if you'd like to hear a lawyer talk about a 3-hour workshop about how to build your business and protect it, and you're in North Carolina or South Carolina, we had people joining from out of state. We also had someone here in Houston that just couldn't beat the traffic and jumped online that way. So I think it's a very important move to, number one, offer value, which is what I talk to our team and our board all the time. How are we offering value? And we have to be able to be in the cutting edge world of what we're doing. And the world is doing virtual. So I can say last year as director of membership, I also really heard a lot of people from College Station, from Dallas, from Austin, different cities that followed to some of these major speakers that wanted to be a part of it, but couldn't because they can't drive all the way to Houston. So this year it's a focus of ours to live in that world, to offer value and be dynamic. Something else I want to bring up too is being dynamic is not just the people that are keynote speakers, right? We're talking coaches or speakers. We have coaches in our chapter. We have trainers like myself coming out of the training with ATD, that world. But also we have a big plethora of people that are authors, comedians. We've had pastors, and they're all joining, needing to know how do you become a speaker because it's such a key skill in this world.
Interesting you said that because my next question was going to be, who can become a member of NSA? Because for so many years, we all thought that NSA was only for professional speakers. So glad you brought that out. So tell our listeners who can become a member of NSA.
I love this topic because you're so right. The old faux pas was only keynote speakers and that stand on a stage in front of 10,000 people or be in NSA. Well, if you go to the national website for National Speakers Association, like I did back in May, and you look at the Influence Conference, Marianne, I'm sure you know that Influence is the big annual conference in the fall.
Really many of them. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal. Well, if you go to that website and you were to look at what was the first thing that pops up on that page, it says, "Welcome to Influence, the premier conference for trainers, coaches, speakers, authors, and consultants." And so as president-elect last year, I thought, well, if this is what National is saying, but our feedback from meetings and dinners I'm having in Houston with speakers, there's a disconnect of you have to be a speaker on a stage with 10,000 people to be in the club, air quotes, right? And so this year, we're really pushing against that. And you'll see a lot of our movement with theme of this year is Together We Rise. And it's something that we are working with 5 other major organizations in Houston, the Coaching Federation, the Association for Talent Development, the Association for Change Management, Houston Org Development Network, and NSA. And we are building something together because all of our members are in everybody's club. So why would we not offer joint happy hours? where the first one had 30 people, the next one had 70, and then we moved to 100. We're looking at a big event where all of us are working together to have something, because where there's synergy, there's so much more power and so much more success, which is what NSA is all about, offering value, that networking you mentioned, but we're taking it to a whole nother level in Houston.
Well, I am just thrilled to hear this. And I'm so happy you're bringing this out for our listeners because, as I said, I have the highest regard for NSA, and it's helped me so much in my business. I mean, I'm an author, I'm a consultant, I'm a recruiter, I'm a writer of different articles every week for the USA Daily Post and Times. But I think the skill of speaking is utilized in so many different areas. And the easier it is for people to be able to join in on the presentations you have, the seminars you have, and what you just mentioned with this hybrid new aspect now, it's going to be available. So if somebody wants to become a member or find out about membership information, where do they go? How do they find that out, Megan?
Yeah, the best place to go is our website. We have a link there where you can join our mailing list. Just get in touch with what's going on. You can also email our programs at nsahouston.org email address and ask about questions there. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to connect you with anything you're looking for as well, because we've got so much to offer. It's just a matter of finding what you need and to meet you where you're at.
And I have to say, I'm so impressed that NSA Houston has you as a leader, because you have had experience in so many different areas. You've worked in the corporate world. You've had your own business. You've traveled the world. You've worked as a consultant, and you're a professional speaker. So you're a person that has done so many things. So if somebody's saying, I don't really know if I'm the right person for this, you can address them because of what you've done and how NSA has helped you. So I think you're a wonderful, wonderful representative for the organization. Simon Sinek wrote a book, and he made something very famous about what's your why. That's something he projected and really kind of had streamlined in the world. What is your why, Megan? Tell us about it.
Sure. I think there's two sides to it. The first one is I was picked on heavily from 5th grade to 12th grade, and that gave me an unparalleled ability to see people who are standing out of the crowd that might feel uncomfortable, because I've been there. And from an entire career, I look at how that's helped me connect with people in training, or when I speak, how inclusive am I making with my stories? Because I know the pain, right? The mean girls, the bullying, that's very prominent. Even in today's world, it just looks different with cyber stuff. And so I think that gives me compassion to understand that it doesn't have to be done one way. And somebody's doing something because, well, it makes sense to them in their world. And then you blend that with the second layer of, I've had a long slew of very bad bosses. And we're talking unethical things. The things that taught me that I have a values of integrity that I'm not willing to forgo. And from that, I also blend in with what the first part of that is to understand, how do leaders really impact our lives? Because when you have a champion leader, you go home jazzed, energized, my career's on fire in a good way, and I am trailblazing forward. And when you have the really not great bosses, you bring it home too. It impacts your kids, your family, like your mental capacity. And so I guess from those two examples of living in pain, I think that it's a really gift to look at the world and say, hey, how can I make it better to where someone else doesn't have to sit in that? And so that's why you'll see me doing trainings and speaking and motivational about how your calling is going to crush you, because it's going to be hard, because that's the only way it can be authentic, humble, and powerful. And so you'll see me speak on those things because I've lived it, and it comes from this place of humbleness that it's real. But what I've realized is you can't just start off with the positive. That's why I'm going a little bit in the deeper part of what you've asked, is not the positive side, but telling what you do with it, right? Because people connect through pain is what I've realized. And when I give a presentation all about positive things, people walk away disconnected. That's why I want to share a little bit of myself, the bullying and the really unethical bosses and the retaliation stuff I've seen that connects with people to say, hey, I've been there. Now let's go make it better and let's do something about it.
I love it. I think it's wonderful. And, I was at a crossroads. I was with a big 3 automaker for 5 years, and I had a wonderful job. I was, on a goal to move up very quickly, but I really wanted to try my hand at the personnel recruiting firm area. And so I remember talking to a person I highly regard, and he said, Marianne, you have a good product. You just got to believe in it. And I think it all starts with us. I mentioned this not long ago. I went to Greece and I went to the Temple of Delphi, and inscribed on that altar is "Know Thyself." And I think that you being the president of NSA and speaking as you just have, because you have been through challenging times. So when somebody comes to you and they're at a crossroads, you can relate because you've been there. So we're getting near the end here, and I always like to leave our listeners, Megan, with 2 salient points that they can take and digest and use going forward. You've given us so many good points. I don't know if you can summarize them among the 2, but if you could, what do you think those 2 salient points could be for our listeners to take with them after this podcast?
I think number 1, recognize that your ability to speak into this world will greatly impact your life, your career, and how you connect with others. And in a world of technology and social media where everybody's on a phone, be careful of how that skill is not being used all the time, because when you hone it really well, like what we do at NSA Houston or ICF Houston or ATD Houston and the other groups I've mentioned, you become a lot more extraordinary in that world of how do you connect to get your message across, because we're dealing in a world of virtual, hybrid, in person. You're dealing with 5 generations in the workplace, different finite or infinite thinking. So when you're able to clearly communicate, you are that much more effective to be yourself, to emanate that into the world, but then also be really effective. So that's my first one. The second one is, I would say, given what I've shared today, I would say lead where you are, because everyone is a leader in their life, in their family, in their career. If you're leading in your community service by serving on a board, then awesome. If you're leading by working with your kids on the Parent-Teacher Association, lead there. Because when you're a better leader in your area, if you can imagine a whole world where all of us are leading as champion leaders and elevating each other and supporting it, I just think it would be this incredible culture of success for all of us. Because I really do think together we rise, and by that synergy of leading where you are, you're able to do that.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Well, I am just so happy that you took the time to come on Career Can Do. I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders, Megan. I think you're amazing. I feel so proud to be a member of an organization that has a person like you at the helm.
Thank you.
If any of you want to know more about NSA, this will all be on my website, faremouth.com. But also we'll make sure we put Megan's name on everything too. So if you need any coaching or you want to get with her on any other area that involves speaking or what she does, she's an amazing individual, an amazing professional, and I'm proud to know her. And Megan, thanks again. We really appreciate this. And we're getting near the end here. So thank you so much, everyone. And we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye. We thank you for tuning in to our Career Can Do podcast. We make no guarantees on results for your particular quest, but we hope you enjoy the information presented. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely that of the guest or speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Mary Ann Faremouth and Faremouth and Company. Thank you.